Meanwhile, just outside of Gotham City,
Bat antenna deployed. Atomic microphones to power.
Check. 1, 2. Testing.
Hey, Jimmy.
Computer online.
Nolan North, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Doing real good.
I'm glad to hear it. And, thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with me and field some of these softballs I'm going to throw at you.
Love it.
There is maybe a couple more bigger names in the voice acting industry, but not many. You really are iconic in the industry. So again, thanks for taking the time. Mostly known for Nathan Drake from Uncharted, The Prince and Prince of Persia. I was just playing Arkham City last night, known for you played the Penguin. I didn't even realize I was talking to you today.
That was me, mate. You gotta know that you're talking to the Penguin.
Yes. Right.
That's right.
But today, that's awesome. Thank you. We're going to talk about the Crisis on Infinite Earths, part 1, maybe part 2 and 3. And you are, I don't know that you have very big roles, but the roles that you have are sort of the linchpins of the whole story, at least of part 1. Hal Jordan Amazo and the homeless man, who is, spoilers, revealed to be John Constantine.
Yes.
Yeah. So first, I'd like to know, how long ago did you record this movie?
You had to ask me that. Yeah. I don't even remember. Fortunately, I stay pretty busy, and I remember the recording. It's more than a year and a half. I mean, it's, we do go back every now and then. I can't remember when the last pickups were. And I should have done research on that. I knew somebody was going to ask me that question. I didn't figure it out. I don't know. I don't remember. I know everybody. I remember everybody we worked with. I remember the story. I know Hal Jordan. I had done a previous iteration of Hal, and this is, I call this is more of Hal's cameo in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But he does the right thing, and but Amazo and the homeless man, who it was revealed to me after I had started doing it. I'm like, is this that it actually is John Constantine, which was a lot of fun to do because I'm a fan. And the Amazo, who I was not very familiar with, is one of the more interesting characters I get to play because, an android type character who ends up, tugging at the heartstrings amazingly, and is rare. So happy to be all three.
I get a chance to chat with a lot of people, voice actors, and I guess I'm fortunate enough that I've got the time to watch a lot of these movies and animated features. And a lot of times I can recognize somebody's timbre, and kind of sometimes, although it's cool for me to say, oh, that's so and so, it's sort of sometimes it takes me out of the movie. But for you, I can't pick it up. You're kind of sort of neutral, blends into everything. Is that something that you focus on? Is that that's got to be a talent in itself, right?
I don't know. It's talent or it's just raw luck. That I have a pretty good range, I guess. Everyone's told me. I mean, I can do, from the Penguin, to something really, I'm almost that mouse. But anyway, I mean, I can go a wide range of stuff. But for me, I think it's I think this, when you can just have kind of a neutral sound, and then have the very small, subtle inflections or subtle tone in your voice to change characters. I find that very, interesting to do, because if you go too far away from your original voice, sometimes it can come off a little too cartoony. It's like, and if it takes somebody out of a story because they're like, what is that? Or who is that? It's the old adage, the play's the thing. Sometimes, it's just like, oh, that's Nolan North, that's him. Or, that's Patrick Warburton, that's him. But, I think for when you can just, it's a subtle, it could be my voice with a different, French accent or something. He's talking like this, but, or John Constantine, but not British, some type of thing, whatever it is, to find the little subtle things and be sort of that. I want you to see John Constantine. I want you to see Amazo. I don't want people to see Nolan. It's not about me. It's like, no, my job is to kind of fall and hide in those characters. It's very similar to like, in the on-camera world, when somebody has these great prosthetic, like, perfect example, Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Yeah.
You're like, that's Colin Farrell. One of my personal favorites, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman like disappears, and like he did that is the Churchill turn as Winston Churchill, and you're like, I see Gary Oldman, but it looks like somebody who ate Gary Oldman. It's unbelievable. So vocally, I like to try to find something there, and I think if you try to go too broad with certain things, it doesn't fit. Typically, the Penguin would be too broad, but with that animation, it works perfectly. So, I think that's my thing. The only thing is, I had an engineer once tell me, he said, sometimes I don't even know it's you. He said, until you yell. He said, you have a very distinct yell that he said actually goes into one of a register of the hertz, like the hertz kind of scale. He said that most people aren't in. When they yell, they're out here or they're here. He says, you have a really weird compression in your yell naturally. He said, so I can usually hear you yell. It's hard. So I guess my characters all die and scream the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, you play 3 characters in this story, Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 1, Hal Jordan, Amazo. I feel like their story is probably done for the next 2 segments of this story. What can you tease for me about 2 and or 3 about the homeless man / John Constantine, his involvement in this story?
I can't really say anything about that. I've been under strict orders. There's somebody here holding me at gunpoint not to say anything about 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I can't. But
well, I got to ask. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not on the spot. Not on the spot. But I'm that's just that's for us to know and everyone else to find out.
All right. Well, similarly, I guess maybe you can't answer this, but for maybe your reaction. Will we see other previous incarnations of other animated DC universes come into this Crisis on Infinite Earth set in the Tomorrowverse?
I probably could answer that, but I can't. I'm not quite sure. That would require far more of my thinking to figure that out. Possibly. There's a lot of characters, and I'm kind of going through my head thinking about it. On a personal note, I do whatever they would like. It's just such an honor to be able to be part of this and to do this. So I don't know exactly what will be. I don't know what I can or can't say, and I don't even know if what I can or can't say would even be relevant. And now I'm trying to think. Of course, you remember, you're talking to the guy who doesn't remember exactly when we last finished this first film. So I'm just gonna, people plead the 5th. I'm gonna plead the 6th, which is just too stupid to remember anything relevant.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. I wish I could tell you more.
I dig it. I dig it. I'm gonna have to bring this plane in for a landing here. Let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
Nolan, when I was a young man, I used to have to get up early on Saturday mornings to beat my brother to the couch to get the good spot in front of the TV so we can enjoy all the Saturday morning cartoons. But I also used to have to get up a little earlier than that to beat my parents into the kitchen to pour myself a big bowl of sugary goodness. So Nolan North, I'd like to know, what's your favorite bowl of Saturday morning cereal and what cartoons did you like to watch?
Oh God. Okay. So the Justice League, when I watched, meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice with Ted Knight, I was big Looney Tunes. Bugs Bunny, Wile E. Coyote, that whole thing, Looney Tunes, and Justice League. And I know that sounds like, oh, he's doing stuff with Warner Brothers and DC. It's the God's honest truth. Also to that, Tom and Jerry. But Saturday morning was, honest to God, was Justice League and Looney Tunes. That's what I grew up on. My nickname, my mom, it was Taz, Tasmanian Devil, because I was
Right.
hyper and I ran around and I broke furniture. Probably Taz because of, okay, Captain Crunch until the top of your mouth, because it had razor blades in it.
Right.
Till that was all that. Captain Crunch, oh God, Apple Jacks. If you're talking like, sometimes you'd get stuck with just Cheerios and you'd have to just put like a quarter cup of sugar in it. But then the
Hmm.
sugar would get the bottom of the bowl and it became like the wet sand. It was awesome. No, Apple Jacks, Fruity Pebbles, Captain Crunch. I was never a chocolate guy. I'm still not my son loves chocolate croissants. And I'm like, I don't want chocolate in the morning. It doesn't work. Those were the three. And the cool thing that kids don't even know, there were games on the back of the box. There was a prize. I mean, it was like a
Right.
thing. It was a thing.
Better
Now it's
days.
just not good for you. It's just,
Now everybody knows how bad it
but
is.
what's funny? Every now and then, just go like, usually when my wife's visiting our son where he lives or something, I might just go to the store and get one of those again.
Sneak one in,
Except
yeah.
for the Captain Crunch, because as an adult, you eat the Captain Crunch, you wake up, it feels like your teeth are wearing a sweater.
Captain Crunch forces you to earn his respect by a little pain with your pleasure of eating it.
There's
But
a lot of
you
pain.
mentioned the Fruity Pebbles. That's one of the best after bowl of cereal. Drink the milk, lots of sugary goodness in there. Hey,
Yep.
that looks like that's my time, Nolan. I want to thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Crisis on Infinite Earth, Part 1, available for purchase and download right now. Parts 2 and 3 coming out soon. Do me a favor, enjoy the rest of your day, Nolan. I will see you on the other side.
You too. Take care, bud.
Bat antenna deployed. Atomic microphones to power.
Check. 1, 2. Testing.
Bat computer online. And processing.
Affirmative.
Audio tapes to speed. Atomic batteries to power.